Wholeness, beautiful beings. Welcome to Notes of Nara. My name is Naja Rashida here, and today's topic, we're going to talk about why we should stop rewriting our worth for other people's stories. Okay, got my handy dandy notebook of ideas right here. And side note, if you hear children playing, this is Sunday evening, so everybody's trying to get the last fun in for the day while the light is slowly disappearing into night. Worthy, the topic for the month of October. So stop rewriting your worth in other people's stories. Oftentimes when we make new connections with people, think about like being a new kid, going to a new school, and you have your own way of wearing your clothes, your own way of expressing yourself, your own way of talking. And then in order to assimilate, to fit in, what do? Sometimes people will change the way they speak, change the way they wear their hair, the way they wear their clothes, who they hang out with, their hobbies, just to be able to fit in and to be a part of the crowd, right? To not stick out so much. And then you have individuals who are so solid in their values and their self-identity and who they are and where they want to go that, they're going to stick out, and eventually people don't really bother them anymore. They don't have that newness. They don't have the, wow, look at this guy. Who's this guy? Everyone's so curious because they're not folding. They're not so easily moved and influenced to get with the program, to fit in. And I find on my path, growing up, I have, firsthand experience on what that was like. Growing up as a young Muslim a girl, wearing the hijab, the headscarf to school, in public, in a very heavily urban, densely populated area. I grew up in upstate New York, one of the cities up there. No, not New York City. But I grew up, the first few years of, my childhood and early elementary. And I'll say, you develop a thick skin. And so over time, I didn't really, mesh very well with people. I was a conundrum. They didn't get it. They couldn't understand it. And those who were brave enough, who stuck around and wanted to, befriend me or to understand my culture, to understand my way of thinking and how I perceived the world, they eventually discovered that I was just like them or very similar to them. Same problems, same issues as a, young teenager, right? But, the thing is that on a deeper level into the world of the unseen, right? Because the unseen rules the scene. We often will redecorate ourselves to the liking of another. We'll do this, okay? We'll nod our head when we're saying no and when we're saying yes. We do this. More often than we like. A lot of people, the general public, will say, oh no, I'm very solid in who I am and what I believe, and and no one's going to tell me what to do. And all the while, we all to some degree have to shapeshift. We have to be fluid so as not to stir the pot too much. But when it comes to your self-worth, when it comes to your the value of who you are, be mindful of this. Because sometimes, and I believe we are people, we are walking, talking books. We are walking, talking encyclopedias of consciousness. We've got a lot going on, and we often we take on the stories of our parents and the ones who came before, and society stories and our parents' stories and our friends' stories and our lovers' stories. They embed themselves within our consciousness over time, and then it shapes our belief systems. And if you don't do the inner work, you don't create that space to get to know who you are, to get to rediscover those silent, hurt parts of yourself. The very identity that you identify with may not be your own. Truly, that truly may not be your own authentic voice. A lot of the time we say, well, this is my culture that I come from. This is my political view that I believe in. This is my religion. This is my spiritual practice. This is my, me. But quite often we will literally we will rewrite our whole value system in order to fit into it, to become a character in someone else's story that we admire, or that we're falling in love with, or that we need that paycheck, we need that salary. And so we do this thing, and that in turn forces us to betray our own heart, betray our own truth of who we really are. And I mean, and this is all across the board, specifically romantically. I mean, that's a perfect example of, you have all of these boundaries and all these standards and all these rules, and then love comes a knocking on the door, and guess what happens? All that shit's thrown out the window. You can take this little book and you just whoop, right? Because you don't want to miss an opportunity. You don't want to miss a chance of a lifetime, once in a lifetime opportunity, right? To be in love, to feel that love, and to have that experience, all the while you're betraying yourself. A lot of the time, as I'm getting older in my own path, and I'm studying my own patterns, and yes, I highly recommend keeping journals. The art of writing is becoming slowly and slowly pushed out. I say this as an educator as well. The art of writing, letter writing, just writing out a normal job application, filling out the form. There's no need. Everything's very digital. Everything is automatic. But journaling is one of the last forms of just, it's such a personal, powerful, private practice. I had kept a journal for over 20 years, since the age of, I think I was 10. So by the age of 30, I went on a personal, spiritual, oh, hi, Birdie. Hi, Birdie. Oh, beautiful. I wonder what message she's bringing today. She flew in, just nice. I received that. But as I was saying, I kept a journal for 20 years, from the age of 10 to the age of 30. And it was during a personal spiritual, I will say, retreat that I went on, where at the end of the retreat, I was led to let all of it go. Part of me wishes, now speaking to a dear colleague of mine, part of me, we were talking about journal writing, and she, funny enough, she did the same thing. She kept journals for years and years and years, and then there was just a season in her life where she was called to purge all of it and let it go. And a lot of the time, you know, those journals keep track of our energy and memories. I mean, but most importantly, cycles and patterns and cycles of our own behavior, from the experiences that we have with the outside world, and how we internalize all that we can process through writing. But with what I'm saying here is that we, you know, through this art of writing, I was able to, you know, when I did the final look through my journal, going through from the age 10 to 30 years old, it was 20 years of solid life experience it was so interesting rereading that, rereading and reliving some of those memories that I kept and that I cherished, or that was hard to revisit. It was very, very, very powerful. And it was almost like reading a character, you know, different versions of myself in one lifetime. And oftentimes, you know, we will find ourselves being just another character in someone else's story, where we completely ditch and pitch all of what we've gone through just to have this one moment as, what do they call those actors in film? Just to be an extra in someone else's film. Recently, I've had a personal experience where it was just like that. I'm just an extra in this person's movie. They're the star player and I'm the extra, right? I'm not a supporting character. I'm not one of the main characters. Definitely not the lead. I'm an extra in the back, just a filler, okay? And when that happens, when you find yourself in that role in someone else's story, whether that's your employer, that's your lover, that's your friend, that's your community, or your family even, you really need to reevaluate and push pause and step out of the story. You are the main character in your story, okay? And yes, the same, I mean, we can flip it. Yeah, there have been instances where, for all of us, there have been people who were just an extra in our story, or who were the main character or supporting character or the villain or the hero, right? We all have this, but it's so important that you know the role that you're playing in someone else's story, the role that you're playing in your own. Because if you're just an extra in your own story, it's one thing to be an extra in someone else's story, but if you find that you're just an extra in your own story, girlfriend, wake up. My guy friends, wake up. We are all, co-creating, right? We should never minimize our worth to the point where we're just going with the flow. We've got nothing going on. We don't have our hobbies. We don't know our values. We haven't activated our boundaries, right? We don't know what our standards are. It's so critical and so important to identify what your boundaries are. It's so critical and important to identify what your standards are. What are you willing to take? What are you willing to let go in life? And then revisit that every year. Make that your birthday, a practice for your birthday, right? Like, really use writing as a tool, as a magical tool for you. It's so easy to just tap and move your fingers around a screen and hit buttons, but truly use it as a superpower for yourself. And I can't stress it any more than what I am at this moment. Oftentimes it's almost like we will fight to be the main character in someone else's story because we are just that lost with our own. We become lost in the fog of our own existence. Sometimes we're just confused. Which way do I go? Where do I start? Is this the start? Is this the beginning? Is this the end of something? Is this the beginning of something? We've all been in seasons like that, where you're in between. You're in between timelines. You're in between worlds. You're in between versions of yourself, where you're letting go of the old version, and it's painful. But you can feel something. You can feel the dawn of a new you coming. It's arriving quickly. And it's just, you need that final push. You need that final shove, that final, tug at that old skin, that shedding of what you once were. So yes, be mindful of this, be heartful of this. Again, I will always preach, I am not a licensed therapist, counselor, life coach. I am just expressing what everyone's kind of going through in my own way. Everything that I say has been said before, just in 9 billion, there's just 9 billion different versions of myself and of you. We're all in this soup, right, of this existence, trying to figure ish out. And by if anything, I have immense gratitude for you all. And may whoever finds this message today, you are the main character of your own story. Be whatever role that you want to be in someone else's. People are going to label you as, oh yes, this person is the main character in my story. Yes, this person is a supporting character, or that person is just an extra. They can just fill in there. Yeah. I know that may sound a bit harsh, but that's how it is. And how do you know this? By studying how people treat you. How do people engage with you? How do they treat you? How do they go about, incorporating you in their life? How do you go about it? How do you label other people in your life? Right? Most of the time, yeah, you can say, well, my spouse is my supporting character, or one of my main characters in my story, or my children they're my supportive characters, or my son is my main character, my daughter's my main character, or my lover's my main character or supporting character, or my job, my career is like my main focus right now, my business, or like really take the time to identify what roles are people playing in your story, because they will impact it. They will impact the direction of the character that you're playing. Whether you're playing in their story or they're playing in yours, it's all interconnected. So, again, may this message find you well and whole, and I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. I will see you soon. Goodbye.